a lot of people spend time and they reflect, right, for New Year. And that's fairly common for a lot of people. I also do a raise of hands, but I don't want people to feel guilty if you do it, if you don't do it. So we're not going to do that. But for some people, it may be a time of just like survival mode, right? Life might just be hectic, busy, challenging, and there's no time to think about New Year's resolutions and goals and aspirations. They're just trying to get to the next day, right? For a lot of people, that's the reality. And also for some people, I think they're so focused on the outside. Today we're talking about inside out. That they don't take time to focus on the inside. And that's very common. When I say the outside, I think of things like work, things that are important, friends, bills, but not what's going on the inside, which is your spirit, your spirituality, your emotions, your mental health, your spiritual health. And I think for a lot of people, they don't have like the capacity of it to think about like working on the inside, whatever that is, practically speaking, right? I listened to this webinar yesterday, and this is not my notes, but it made me think about this. And I'm glad I remembered because I wanted to share this, okay? This guy, his name is TJ Power. He's a neuroscientist. He's done research for 10 years. He's studied like 90,000 people. He's in England, okay? On dopamine, oxytocin, all these things. And we're an addicted people. Not my words, his words. We're digitally addicted. You know what he said that most people should do the coming year? The number one advice he would have to anybody. I'm not sure he believes in God. I have no clue. But this is advice for your mental, emotional, I would say spiritual health. To go and walk in the woods or in nature without your phone. You literally have to leave your phone at home for 30 minutes to 1 hour. Just walk in nature. And the effects that has on your, I believe, spiritual, emotional, mental health is amazing. So why I remember it was because a lot of people they don't have the mental capacity to think about like, how can I work on the inside? Because we're constantly bombarded by like our phones, our TV, like just life. At least I can feel like that. He also said you should detox from your phone 1 hour per night. To put your phone away and you know, and if you're like me, you maybe check your email. I check my email probably way too much per day. But you know, like he said, so I think a lot of people don't have the capacity to think about cognitively, how can I take care of my inside? And like I said, some people, they just, you know, they may be in a survival mode. I had one New Year's Eve, I think it was 2001. I'm on my way this is back in Norway. It's freezing cold. It's like minus 20 degrees Celsius. That's like in the tens or something, or the ones, single digits, super cold. My mom was working at this elderly care home, and I'm on my way to pick her up. Driving too fast in my dad's Peugeot 405, you know what that is. He just bought it, fixed it, the heating was working, and then I come around this turn. There's just snow on the ground. There's a car in my lane. I remember just hitting the brakes, going equally fast because it just packed snow. And boom, and I wrecked my dad's car. And I remember just like the feelings, like this was like 11:40 p.m. And the one thing I thought about was just how can I kind of solve this stuff? It wasn't, yeah, New Year. Then in 2011, we were on our way to move to Norway. And we had flights to leave, I think 2 days after New Year's Eve, to move to Norway. Have to cancel flights, got to go to ER with Aaron. I remember sitting in the car, driving to the ER, and it's like 11:30 p.m. and you just kind of sit there, and it's just kind of, it feels surreal because she was really, really sick. She needed a blood transfusion. And it's New Year's, and these people are excited, but you're just in your world. And all I thought was just her health, her well-being. But for some people, that's where they're at. And sometimes it's because it's legitimate issues. But Jesus wants us to focus on the inside and to change from that side. You know, if you think about just the state of America, and I've shared this before, you know, Barna is a research think tank, and they do this thing called State of the Church. every year and see where is Christianity in America, let's say. When I say Christianity, it's based on what people that identify as Christians. And the 2025 report, and this goes back to Inside Out, they said that this was kind of the overall findings. Faith, the importance of faith has dropped 20% since 2000. Practicing Christians have declined from 46% to 24% over the past 25 years. Only 1 in 3 Christians says they strongly feel a responsibility to share their faith. And that's a long-term downward trend that has only recently stabilized. And the ones that identify as Christians, practicing Christians, this is how the Barna group identifies. These are the 3 characteristics. They identify as a Christian, meaning they say, I'm a Christian. Number 2, they attend church at least monthly. And number 3, they agree strongly that faith is very important in their lives. So here are just some quick numbers. So you can see the importance of faith has declined more than any other commitment measure. This is over the last 25 years. Number of adults that identify as a Christian has gone down. Christian attend church monthly has gone down. And like I mentioned, the responsibility to share my religious beliefs has gone down. Also, this one says faith only matters to half of Christians. So these are people that identify as Christians, all right, in the United States. And that's based on their research. So out of the people that identify as Christians, 54% says that my faith is very important out of those that identify as Christians. And then lastly, it says half of U.S. adults are non-practicing Christians. So basically, this is based on data where people can identify themselves as Christians, and out of those, half of those people are practicing Christians. So my thought was, what is, if obviously when you look at research, it's always deviation, right? This is based on a sample, but at least it can give us an indicator where people are at. So if Jesus wants to change from the inside out, where are these people when it comes to what's going on the inside? Or are the folks more what's going on the outside? Same for us. Like, what is going on the inside? Jesus wants to change us from the inside out. You know, when I was in college, I studied sustainable development. That was like my research. And that sounds so fancy to say that was my research. I mean, I did papers in school. But again, it was research, okay? So sustainable development, that was my thing, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. So basically, what does that mean? Well, if you want a society to sustain and not to defract and just not function over time, you have to plan public policies that's going to last, that's going to work over long periods of time, which makes sense. But I thought about the same thing for our spiritual or even human development. If it's going to be sustainable, meaning if you're going to be the person that God wants you to be, right? And what does that mean? Well, you have some sort of peace, right, within. There's some sort of contentment. There's gratitude. There's some sort of joy. There's some sort of appreciation, right? There's some sort of service you'll be able to contribute without falling apart, right? It's sustainable. Like, it's a sustainable growth. You have to focus on the inside. If you only focus on the outside, at some point that's going to be revealed. Because you can't be someone that you're not over a long period of time. Jesus wants to change us from the inside out. Sustainable. So let's look at an example of someone who I think was a great example of what it means to be a person who's changed from the inside out. So if Enoch, okay, go to Genesis chapter 5. And if you remember the story in Genesis, of course, so we've just learned about the first man, Adam. And then Genesis 5 talks about the next 10 generations between Adam and Noah. And in the book of Generation, there is this theme of generations. Like Abraham, he became a blessing to all people. And there's all these narrative, kind of nerdy stuff for those of you really into how the author, structured the book of Genesis. We're not getting into all of that. But in Genesis chapter 5, I'm in chapter 12. All right, so there's the account between Adam and Noah. And after the first, I'll read the first two verses. It says, this is a written account of Adam's family line. When God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God. He created male and female and blessed them. He named them mankind when they were created. So this kind of goes back to the beginning, that God, even though the fall has happened, God still created mankind. It's almost like, it's like an emphasis. Yes, the fall has happened, but I still created you. I still have a plan for you. And then there's 10 generations. So there's a pattern when you read it. So for example, in verse 3, when Adam lived 130 years, he had a son. That's the second thing. And then how long he lived. So name which son, how long he lived. Verse 6, Seth had lived 105 years. He became the father of Enosh. He lived 807 years. Then in verse 9, we skip to verse 12. It's the same pattern. When Kenan had lived 7 years, he became the father of Mahalalel. He after became the father of Mahalalel. He lived 840 years. Then the same thing, jump down to verse 18. When Jared had lived 162 years, he became the father of Enoch, and so on and so on. So this pattern, right? And there's 10, and you know from the Old Testament, numbers are quite important. So 10, there's 10 commandments. There's 10 plagues. So it's not a coincidence that he listed 10 generations. Also, when you see there's a deviation from the pattern, that means the author, through the Holy Spirit, there's a reason why there's a deviation in the pattern. So for example, with Noah, in verse, let's see if I got it, verse 59, thank you, 29, 29. In 29 it says, he named him Noah and said he will come for us. So with Noah, instead of saying he became the father of, it's a small subtle tweak, he named him. So Noah was different. There's something different about Noah than these other people. Also, numbers, right? Number 7. Remember what that is in the Old Testament, what that symbolizes? Infinity, maybe. Perfection, completion. It's completion, like it's that number. And who is number 7, you think? Enoch. Say it when you're teaching. Sometimes like it's the notes are right there. See, Greg, he's smart. He just reads the notes, right? All right. So Enoch is number 7. So he is not there by coincidence, right? So let's read by Enoch, verse 21. It says, when Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Enoch walked faithfully with God, and then he was no more because God took him away. So each of the people listed in that genealogy, they all died, except 2 people. Well, they died, but it wasn't mentioned that they died. Enoch and Noah. So by Enoch, it says that he was no more, God took him away. And scholars think that that phrase is more like the rapture. Like he actually didn't experience death. Some people think that, well, that kind of foreshadows for us. That people that walk with God, you will experience death, but it's not the end. It's actually the beginning. Mm-hmm. So Enoch lived 365 years. There's all kinds of stuff about the numbers, how long they lived. And you can go and do that research on your own because it's quite deep. But some scholars think the author is referencing the Babylonians because they had numbers, how long people lived. And that each number has a symbolic value for people that in that historical context understood numbers. So 365 years, well, they think that represents what? 365 years. It's a year. So he lived a full life. That's a lot of scholars, but that's what that number represents by Enoch. Remember, perfection, completion, and even how long he lived was complete. And what do we learn about Enoch? Well, it says that he walked faithfully with God. And we're going to talk about like walking with God. And this phrase, walking with God, is a rare phrase that's used in the Old Testament. It's only used like a couple times. It's used in Genesis chapter 6, verse 9 about Noah. It says Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. It's used in Malachi 2. That's the only other time it's used in the Old Testament. And it says, this true instruction was in his mouth, and nothing false was found in his lips, referring to the prophet. He walked with me in peace and uprightness and turned many from sin. So there's something about this phrase, like he walked with God. Some people say that the phrase, like in the Hebrew, can mean that it is a supernatural and intimate relation with God. Not simply being just religious. If I asked you, can you please describe my relation with God? And you would say, I describe it as supernatural and very intimate. I'd be pretty, if you describe my relation with God like that, I'd be pretty happy. Supernatural and intimate. When I think of Ibami, I think of someone who's supernatural and intimately walking. I'm going to keep saying that. That's my affirmation. Bump these notes. This is, I'm just going to keep saying that.
Remember, we need sustainable. Sustainable.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. So, Enoch. This walking with God. I thought it would be cool if the Bible told us. Can you, what did that look like? Like, what did he do that made the Holy Spirit capture his life, like he walked with God? Can you tell me what that looks like? Like, how long should I read for? How long should I pray for? Like, how much money should I give? When should I say sorry? Like, can you give me some, when should I say this? When should I not say that? When should I say so? When should I be quiet? That would be really nice to know. And I don't know, but I wonder if the people that read this originally, like if there was something about that phrase in Hebrew, if they knew when they read it, because they wouldn't read it, they would hear it orally. But say that they're sitting around the campfire and daddy and mommy, like they're telling the stories and the children listening, and then they hear he walked and like, oh yeah, I get it. Maybe, I don't know if that was it, but that expression means something. And whatever Enoch's walk with God was, it is recorded for all eternity. And we're reading it now. Well, I'm reading it. You're listening. But I guess we're reading it together. You're here, so you're reading it, right? But when I think of Enoch, I think for sure there must have been like an inside-out experience that he had with God. Like if he's walking with God and he's being recorded, he's number 7, he didn't experience death. Something was going on the inside that this experience, the relationship that he had was genuine. It was a genuine transformation. Like he wasn't just someone who showed up for Shabbat and showed up for the synagogue. Hasn't started yet, but we'll just pretend the synagogue there. He showed up for synagogue, right? Then sang some songs and went home and, no. That couldn't have been. Like this is recorded for us. So I'm thinking his private life, right? We're going to talk about walking with Jesus for the next 4 months. And obviously we're doing that, and sometimes that may sound kind of simple, but if you know anything about life and how life is and how things that are urgent can take on what's really important and you can squeeze out what's really important, and then you look back and you wonder what happened. Well, you drifted. Not like this, but very subtly, very incrementally. And the more I learn about human behavior, we're deep. Like we're deep, like there's layers. And we have to really slow down. I'm speaking out to you, but myself as well, and focus on what's going on the inside. So, what can we do to walk with Jesus and to be changed from the inside out? Many of you guys may have heard of Stephen Covey. He's an author. He wrote the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He is a believer in God. I think he's a Mormon. But he's very, spiritual, believes in God, all that. He talks about God in the book. But he taught at university. And he studied basically popular psychology and how people changed from 1776 up until today. So that's 200 years of looking at the research, ton of papers, books, and research articles on the topics of like self-improvement, popular psychology, and self-help. So basically, he's trying to figure out how do you become a successful person. That's his research, okay? And what he realized was in the last 50 years, he kind of coined it down or broke it down, summarized it down to what he refers as personality ethics. So in the last 50 years, when you go to the bookstore, the library, which you should go at least, if you go to nature once a month, go to the library too, okay? Leave the phone. Those are like, I'll give that in there for free. So you look through all those books, okay? And you study all that stuff. And he saw that over the last 50 years, it's a lot of technique. So how do you become a better speaker? How do you become a better communicator? How do you have more of a positive attitude and affirmations? He called that personality ethics. And he said it's kind of superficial. It became more superficial. It became more about which techniques can you tweak to become more successful. In the previous 150 years, he talked more, the literature was more on character ethics. So on the inside, how do you grow in your integrity? How do you grow in your honesty? How do you grow in your gratitude? How do you grow in your service? So he said that the personality ethics is not sustainable because you're tweaking the wrong stuff. You're tweaking what's on the outside. You're trying to add something to something that's not being changed from the inside out. And he said this, what we are communicates more than we do. And what we are communicates more than we do. Emerson, the author, said, what you are shouts so loud in my ears, I cannot hear what you say. And I think we all know this, right? We know that we change from the inside out. Jesus wants to change. He wants to walk with us. And this is, of course, like a spiritual application. And if I had to I was thinking, what's the spiritual application? I think there's several, but I think one I thought about is don't skip the process. Don't skip the process. My assistant coach when I was in college, he always used to say, part of the process, boys, part of the process. And that was when we did all our conditioning and everybody hated it. But he's like, it's part of the process. And it is. But if you skip the process, like say if your goal is to be walking with Jesus on cloud, heaven 9, right? Like you want to be happy and joyful and all that stuff. Well, there is a process, right? And a part of that process, it's everything from spiritual disciplines. It's being in fellowship, being in community. All these are things that we know we're supposed to do, but sometimes life can kind of come in there and then you just, oh yeah, I'll get to that later. Because right now I got to watch This Is Us on Disney. It's a good show. We're watching it right now, right? And I'm like, this is like 7 seasons, and we're on season 1. I'm like, this is a lot of time, and everyone is a cliffhanger, and every if you've seen it, like every 10 minutes, like, oh, it's like drama, another drama. But anyways, I'm just saying that can become a distraction because there's a lot of episodes, whatever it is, right? I wanted to watch. Anyways, I'll stay to my notes. So don't skip the process. Like Galatians 6:7 says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. And it's so easy. It's so easy to be deceived. What you sow will come out. And you'll reap it. Whether it's a good fruit or it's a bad fruit. That's just the way the universe that God designed is made. You cannot skip the process. You can read this quote with me. It says, the Lord works from the inside out. The world works from the outside in. The world will take people out of the slums. Christ takes slums out of the people, and then they take themselves out of the slums. The world would mold men by changing their environment. Christ changes men who then change their environment. The world would shape human behavior, but Christ can change human nature. Here's something too. We can read that and be, wow, that's inspiring. Or you can read that and be like, oh, that's challenging. Right? Depending on how we feel today emotionally, how our morning was, how our week was, how our month, how our year was, how we're doing spiritually, emotionally, mentally, how we're connected to our spouse. All that affects how you read that. That's your perception. Like you project that on there. But if you can, for a second, whatever you're thinking, feeling, just think about this objectively. Is this good news or bad news? It's very good news. The Lord works inside out. You know what that means? There's always hope.
Yeah.
There's always hope. You're never too old. It's never too late. God wants to change you. He is changing you. He has changed you. We all know this, right? For those of you knowing each other for a long time, you've changed and you're continually changing. There's even hope for me. My wife was the only one to say woohoo, right? God changes people from the inside out. You may know someone, maybe that person is you. Or maybe you have a friend or a family member who was on a very dark path. Maybe you were on a dark path. And then you had your moment like Saul did. And you changed.
Yeah.
And if I think back who I would become if I didn't meet Jesus, I mean, even now I have stuff to work on. A few things. But it would not be good. Like, it would not be good. Like, I think I would keep a steady job. I would probably, all this, but I think I'm talking about the inside.
Yeah.
On the inside would not be good. And that's what Jesus told the Pharisees, right? What are they on the inside? Dead man's bones. Right? Whitewashed tombs. So you want to change from the inside. This is good news. That Jesus works from the inside out. So for this next 4 months, we are going to really talk about what does it mean to walk with Jesus? And we're meant to walk with Jesus.
Yeah.
And for those who have read the book, you're familiar with this, but I'm going to just break it down very basic, and we'll talk about this a whole lot more because I think it is kind of deep. So he mentions these different postures in life with God, the author. And the first one talks about life under God. So basically, if you connect with this, a person who are in this posture, they want to keep God happy. How do I keep God happy? I got to obey him. I've been there. I've done that. If I'm doing the right thing, God loves me. But it's rooted in fear. I can relate to that. Sometimes I still dip into that. Am I doing the right thing? How am I spending my time? Life over God. All right, this is more our Western hemisphere, which is kind of based on the Enlightenment. And that means that we're so wise. We're so enlightened. So we can have all these formulas, okay? How do you want to grow the church? Well, guess what? This program, all right? I've been a Christian for 30 years, so I know how to do this stuff. Like, I know how to interpret the Bible. I know how to exegete the Bible. I know how to hermeneutic the Bible. I know how to put the sermon together. I've done this. But still, you're not necessarily walking with God. Another one, life from God, okay? So God offers a lot of stuff. Think of like the typical wealth and health prosperity gospel, right? So God gives us all these things. And the things that God gives us, it could be things that are really good, such as your kids, your spouse, your 2005 Camry. All right? It could be all these things, right? Your job, things they're blessings. Right? They're blessings, but sometimes they become more than God. Like, just enjoying life itself. Like, if that's where you're at, like, that's become bigger than God. Yeah. And I've been there. Like, there's things like this awesome. It could be so many things that God is blessing. And he wants us to enjoy those things. But not they become bigger than God. And then you start drifting. Yeah. And it's slow. Yeah. It's usually never quick that you suddenly just jump off a cliff. I'm like, done. No. It's like all these things. And, I think, of course, Satan uses that. And we live in supposedly the healthiest, wealthiest time ever, right? Do you really, 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 and people can maybe start not seeing their desperate need for God. All right, another one, life for God. So this one, and we'll talk more about it again, is this idea that we work for God. We got to do the right thing. So our identity is tied into God. That could be something like sharing our faith. I think he talks about in the book. Like you're doing the Christian thing, and that makes you feel good. And if you're good, well, then I'm good with God. Mm-hmm. So these are the different things he talks about. And the last one that he says is this invitation to life with God or Jesus, like you walking with him. So we're going to spend 4 months, all right, talking about this book, going through the chapters, reading it together, and really trying to, and maybe you're walking with God, which I hope everybody is, right? That's where you're at. Let's help each other. Maybe you connect with number 2, right? We're here to help each other in fellowship, in koinonia, that deep, deep, deep fellowship. And I have this thought why I think, it's so, so important. So I read a book. I didn't watch one movie over Christmas, I think. I mean, I did. Watch on Christmas. Anyways, I read a book. But I spent November, I was going to work on emotions because I thought about it before. And I really want to learn how to get in touch with my emotions, how to identify, how to articulate, how to work through them in a healthy way. Because what I tend to do is I kind of keep the emotions in, which is not the healthiest thing to do. So I read this book. Laura Fix, she loves that book. Steve, you'll love the book. It's called Buried Feelings Alive Never Die. Right down most men's lane, right? So I read this book and I take notes and trying to journal all this stuff. And Christmas, my wife knows this, Christmas is one of my happiest memories with my family. It was one of the few times where we were all together. We sat down, had a meal together. So Christmas is like this really, really fond memories for me. Then the last 20 years, so I haven't really had Christmas with my family. So it's a time of actually sadness. Like, it's kind of weird how that works, but it's a time of sadness for me, Christmas, because I'm kind of wanting that memory, but it's not, I don't have it. So I was feeling this stuff and I got sick, like pretty bad. So I'm sick, I'm sad, I'm thinking about this stuff, and I know that what will be the process, the inside out process. I know, well, what would that be? That would be to share, to articulate, to say something, to get this stuff out of someone that I trust, like my wife, right? Someone that I feel close to. But what did? I withdrew because that's easier. And that's kind of my default mechanism, which I don't think was healthy at all. And it probably made me even sicker because I'm feeling all this negativity inside. We talked about it, I shared, but I just thought about, if you think about our relation with God, right, I've spent many, many, many years cognitively trying to grow emotionally. Then you have opportunity to do the right thing, right? And then your body, mind, whatever you want to believe, it goes to the out, not to the in, because you're practicing the out for so many years. And what I realized, like, man, I still need Jesus. Yeah. Like, I still need to work on the inside out. And yes, I was able to share. Yes, I was able to work through it. But it's just another reminder of, like, the inside out. Like, it can come up again. You didn't know when it's going to come up, but it will come up again. And we want to change from the inside out. And this is the invitation that Jesus has for us. Not just because it's a new year, but it's every day to walk with him, to be changed, because he has a plan for you. You are changing, you have changed, and maybe you are almost quite there to where he wants you to be. But for all of us, there's always going to be a little bit. Greg, I know he's very close, but for the rest of us, right, there's going to be some things to work on, right? So, as you take communion, right, we are invited by Jesus to walk with him. And to be reminded that it is a journey. And he is changing you. He continues to change you. But as you continue to work with Jesus, he continues to forgive you and work with you and heal you as we change and become more like Jesus from the inside out.